Welcome back. So in this video, we are going to see what is AWS IAM, that is Identity and Access Management. So we'll do a lot of hands-on in this video around identity and access management. So this is the basic stuff in AWS, but it is very essential because when you are working with AWS on your day-to-day operation, you always get this kind of issues related to the permissions, related to IAM, related to your roles and the policies, all things you face on your day-to-day life when you are working with the AWS. It is just service where you will manage your AWS users and which user can access which service. So who is having access to delete the resources, who is having access to create the resources. So that all stuff you manage in this service. That is one of the important service in AWS, that is identity and access management. Now there are four components. If you understand these four components of IAM, you will understand a lot of things in AWS. What are these four components? So first component is users. So what we refers to the users in AWS IAM. So it can be your individual people who is accessing AWS console, or it can be a application which is interacting with the AWS services. So you can just create user for your application as well, or you can create a user as an individual who can work on the your IAM. So it can belong to one or more group and granted a specific permissions. Then you have groups. So group is nothing but collection of IAM user. So suppose you are having 50 developers and they all need access to write some resources. They need access to create some S3 buckets, create some EC2 instances. So you will not go individually and give access to all 100 developers. You will create one developer group, add all your developer into that group, and going forward you will just manage the permission of the group. So whenever you want to add a permission, you will just add into that group, and that permission will belong to all the 100 or 50 developers, all whoever will be the users within that group. So first is user, which can be individual people or application. Second is group, which is just collection of IAM users, and we can use it to manage a permission more efficiently. So as I said, a developers group with permission to access EC2 and S3. So these are related to identity. Now access management, here also we are having two concepts. First is roles. So similar to users, the role are intended for AWS services or application. Now suppose my EC2 need to access to RDS, or my EC2 need to access a S3 bucket. So what my EC2 should need? So it also need a role. So in simple terms, if you go with the Google Cloud, in Google Cloud it referred as a service account, the identity used by the services. So here it just referred as a role. So it is identity of your service. So you can see similar to users but are intended for AWS services application. A role doesn't have credential, instead it is assumed temporarily, granting EC2 instance permission to access S3 bucket. So whenever you need to access one service from another service, you have to assign role, and then you have to manage permission for that role. So do not worry if you get confused. I'm just going to clear all your doubts in this video. And third is policies. So policies is nothing but the JSON document in which you will assign a permission. So suppose you need to assign permission to specific user to access the bucket, you give that permission in form of the policy document. So I'll show you that as well. Now this focus, you have to remember users, group, roles and policies. If you're clear with these four, then I'll go to the hands-on and I'll show you how to create users, how to create groups, how to assign policies, all things I'm going to show you. So let me go to the my AWS console now. So I am on my AWS console. So as soon as you create your AWS account, you will by default have your root user. So let me just sign out from here and I'll show you my AWS console. Now here, this is my AWS console, and if I go to sign in, it will have two options to sign in, either using your IAM users, you can see IAM user sign in, or using your root email ID. So I do not have any user created, so what I will do, I'll just go sign in using a root user. So ideally you should not use root user for your day-to-day operations, and it should be just used to manage your accounts and billing details. So I'll just go to IAM using my root account because I do not have any users created, and I'll go and show you how to create users in AWS IAM. Now you can see account owner that perform task requires unrestricted access. This is my root users. This is my email ID. I'll just log in using a root email. Okay, so now I'm logged in into my AWS console and I'll go to IAM. So in my IAM, I'll just go to users Okay, and let's see if you can see any users here. So currently there are 0 users. So what I will do, I'll just create one user and I'll just assign some permission to that user. So let's just create user, and instead of root email I'll just create user. So you can give any name, so I'll just give my name only. I'll just create username as a Vishal. Okay, so I'm just given, and now here you have to make sure you are giving AWS management console access or not. So I'm giving management console access, or I will just give the name as Vishal. Okay, so let's give a management console access. Specify user in identity center recommended, or I want IAM users. So I'll go with the second. So identity center I'll explain you later in another video. So this is better used with AWS organization where you have to manage access for multiple AWS accounts, then it will be recommended. So for now I'll just go with the basic stuff to create IAM user. Now here two options, either you want to auto generate password or custom password. So I'll just go with the auto generate password. Okay, or I'll just go with the custom. So I'll just set some password. I'll just set some password here. Okay, and user must create new password at next sign in. So I'll just check this box. So now let's go to the next. Okay, I'll just keep this. Now here add user to the group. So I'll just add user to one of the group. So let's see. Yeah. Next tag, I'm not giving any tag. So if I go to the set permissions, so there were no groups. Okay, so I'll just create one group. So group name I will just create admin group. Okay, I will give administrator access to that group. Create user group, and now I'll assign access to add user into admin group, so he will have full access. Now I'll go create users. Now my user is created and that can log in using these details. What I will do now, I'll just go and I'll open incognito window. Okay, and I'll try to keep these side by side. Now you can see I am having new cognito window in right side and my root user already logged in left side. So I'll just copy this URL. Okay, I'll just go here and paste. So I'll log in with my newly created users now. So account ID, so I already took from this URL. Now username, okay, and password, I already know my password, so I'll type my password. I'll just try to sign in. So it is showing password incorrect. Let me check the password again. Why? Okay, so it's logged in, and as we mentioned to reset password on first login, it is asking me to reset password. So I'll just give my old password and I'll just add my new password. Confirm password change, and I'll reset my password. Now I am logged in using my new user, that is newly created user. You can see here this is IAM user Vishal, and here you can see this is my root user. Okay, so now I'll just try to access few things here. So I'll just try to go in IAM here. I'll go in IAM. Okay, and I'll go to users. So here I should see my users, Vishal as a user. Okay, I can see a user here. Let me just go to S3. I can see if I can see S3 bucket. Okay, so let's see if we are having any buckets here. So we should be having couple of buckets here. So let's wait for page to load. Okay, and we are having two buckets, sample S3 bucket, CLI test 001. Okay, now we'll able to see bucket. Now what I will do, I'll just mess up with permissions of these users. Okay, I'll go to my root account in the left side and I'll just try to remove permissions. So till now we have created users, we added the users to the admin group and assigned full permission, so that user is having access to do all this stuff. Go to these users, I'll go to permissions, and what I will do, I'll just remove this administrator access from my users. Okay, so I'll simply click on administrator access and from here I'll just remove. Okay, so now user is having only access to change a password. So now you can see here are two buckets. Let me reload this page and let's see if I can still see these three buckets. Now you can see you don't have permission to list buckets, so it is looking for three list all read list my bucket action. Okay, so now it is not having any permission. What I will do, I'll just add some permissions. I'll just go to add permissions and I'll just add policies related to S3. So here I'll do Amazon S3 read only access. So we'll just go and add a read only access to S3 bucket. Okay, just add permissions. So it is adding permissions, and after that I will reload this page again. Okay, policy added. Let me just reload and then see if we can see or list our S3 buckets. Okay, now you can see I am able to see the buckets. Now let me try to create one bucket now, because we have provided only read only access, it should not allow us to create bucket. Still, let's see what error we get to create a bucket. Okay, so I'll just give IAM test 000. I'm just trying to give a unique name. Okay, I'll just keep all the details as it is and I'll simply go and create bucket. So you can see fail to create bucket. To create the bucket, S3 create bucket permission is required. So we do not have this permission for now. So I'll go again and I'll just try to add permissions here. Okay, so I'll just go add permissions. Okay, and now I'll just go again, attach policy directly, and now I'll give S3 full access. Okay, so here you can see Amazon S3 full access. Click next, add permissions. Now it is adding read and write all permissions to my user, and then again I will try if I can create that bucket after adding permissions. It is just adding the permission. The policy is added now. Now it is having read only as well as full access. Now this doesn't matter because I am having full access, so read only doesn't matter. So I'll just remove the read only. Okay, so it is just removed. Now let's try to create bucket again. So it's trying to create bucket now. It will take a moment to create the bucket. It did not show error, so it means it is creating the bucket. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. You can see successfully created bucket IAM test 00. So it created the bucket and our bucket is available now. So we have added permissions to create bucket now, and it created the bucket without an error. So hope you understood now how we can manage roles and permission for the users. Not roles and permissions, I would say the group users and policies. Now what is a role, how we can work with a role. Okay, so for this what I will do, I'll just close this window and I'll go here. Okay, and I'll go to EC2 instance, because role is something which used along with your AWS services. So I'll go here. Okay, and I'll just try to open EC2. So I'll create one EC2 instance. Go to instance page and I'll launch one EC2 instance with the default configuration. So I'll give the name a role demo. Okay, so I'll just go with the default configuration here. Key pair, I'll just select. Okay, so this I will select existing default security group. Okay, let's see advanced detail. Okay, and simply go down and just go and launch your instance. So I'm just launching a default instance here. Okay, my instance is launched now. Let me go to the instance page. Instance is running. Let me just open the instance. Okay, now I open my instance. You can see the IAM role is blank. There is no role assigned to my EC2 instance. So what I will do, I'll just go and I will go to security and here modify IAM role. So choose IAM role. So here you don't see any IAM role. So what I will do, I'll just go and create new IAM role for my EC2 instance. So you can directly go from here roles as well you can create, but I'll just go from here and I'll write create new role. So you need IAM role for AWS service. Okay, so use case select service, so we need for EC2 instance. Okay, so I'll choose a use EC2. I'll click on next. So for now I'll just give, I'll not attach any permissions and I'll just click on next. A role name I'll just give EC2 role. Okay, and I'll simply create role. So my role is created. Let's refresh here. Okay, and EC2 role is there, just attached to your EC2 instance, and now your IAM role is modified for your EC2 instance. Okay, now you can see successfully asset EC2 role to the instance. Now let me just log into this EC2 instance and let's try to access the S3 bucket from this EC2 instance. Because when I was accessing using IAM user, it was saying permission denied, and then we assign permissions to that user. Now if you are trying to access from EC2 instance and role is attached to it, that EC2 instance will use that role to access permission to access the S3 bucket, and will check for the permission of that role. Okay, I am into my EC2 instance. Let's see if it is having internet access. I'll just check google.com. So I'm having response, so it's having a permission. So I'll just do AWS S3 LS and let's see access denied. You can see it is saying access denied when calling list bucket operation user EC2 role is not authorized to perform this operation. It means we have attached EC2 role successfully to our instance, but it is not having permissions. So in this case we have to manage permission for our role. Okay, so if I go to role, okay, I'll go to EC2 role and now I'll manage permission for this role. So I'll just go to the permission. So currently you can see there is no permission attached to this role. So I'll add just permissions. I'll just attach policy. So I need permission for S3, so I'll just do S3 full access. Okay, and I'll just add permissions and I'll try to execute the same things again once the permissions is reflected here. Okay, it is here. and just try to execute the same command. Okay, now it is working. Now you can see it listed these three buckets here. Now let's see if we can put a file into the bucket. So I'll just create one file, test.txt. I'll write hello, I'll save it, and I'll just try to do AWS S3 cp test.txt to S3 bucket. Which bucket I want to copy the file? So I'll copy the file to this bucket. I'll use a CLI test, or I will use IAM test. So I'll just, my bad. Let's see. Okay, it uploaded file. Let's go to S3 bucket and see if our file is successfully uploaded to the bucket. Okay, so uploaded to the IAM demo bucket. Okay, so I'll go to IAM test 0 bucket and our file should be there. Okay, now you can see the test.txt is here. Hope now you understood what is identity and access management in AWS. You understood what is users, what is group, what is roles, and how we can play with the AWS IAM policies. So hope all things are clear. If you stuck somewhere, or if the things are still not clear for you, just let me know in comment section. I'll just try to help you out. So thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you again in a next video.